How's it going, everyone? Today I'll be playing this Quicksilver aggression deck against Taskmaster on heroic difficulty. It's part of my goal to beat every scenario in the game on heroic difficulty using a different hero. And as much as I can, I try to use heroes from the same wave with some exceptions. Like we just played Winter Soldier against Zola because that's such a thematic matchup. But in general, I'm trying to use wave 1 and 2 heroes for this Rise of Red Skull box. And this is kind of my process of elimination hero that was left to face against Taskmaster, because I've used a lot in other matchups already, and my other options, if I follow these rules, are either Wasp or Ant-Man, but they have a pretty tough matchup against Taskmaster because he punishes characters from flipping to hero form, and they've got multiple hero forms that they're flipping to, so Quicksilver it is. And I think they're about a reasonable power level match for each other. I think Taskmaster is kind of middle of the pack difficulty, a high main scheme threshold, but lots of little chip bits of value in there from the main scheme. We'll talk about Taskmaster next in the scenario breakdown. And Quicksilver is also about middle of the pack for heroes, maybe a little bit on the low side. But he can be really powerful as well, especially once he gets his friction resistance upgrade in play. This is just a tremendous resource generator for him, so it should be a nice matchup. As I pursue my channel goal, I'm trying to even out the aspects I use as much as I can. So aggression is the one that I'm lagging behind currently. So Quicksilver presents a fun opportunity to use aggression because of how well he works with Yarnbjorn. This is after your hero attacks an enemy, spend a physical resource to deal 2 damage to an enemy. So this, in conjunction with friction resistance, which almost always gives him a physical resource at the ready, can really dish out a lot of damage. So not really an archetype per se, because once friction resistance is out, that'll fuel Yarnbjorn for the rest of the game. But that's kind of what started me on this deck. And then looking with what else to fill out the deck with, I've gone for a little mini minion upgrade attaching archetype. So Surprise Move is a card that came in the Iceman pack. When you make a basic attack against an enemy with an upgrade attached, you get +2 attack for this attack. If this attack defeats that enemy, ready your hero. So this doesn't really, Quicksilver doesn't have his own attachments to put on enemies like Iceman or Nightcrawler or Cyclops would have, but he gets more value from the ready than usual because of friction resistance, which will ready when he readies. So that makes this a little bit cheaper and very efficient if we can pull it off. Just means we've got to play some more of the aggression upgrades that can attach to minions. So I've got 2 Suppressive Fire, which can help Quicksilver with a little bit of healing, and then Gatekeeper, which is a relatively efficient thwarting card. It just, like the strategy overall, depends on us having some minions. So I wouldn't call Taskmaster a super minion dense scenario, but there's a decent chunk of minions, so hopefully we won't have too much awkwardness here. We can definitely get some awkward hands with drawing all of these and no minions, or 2 Gatekeepers but no Surprise Move, stuff like that. So if we look at the allies, I'm just playing some staple allies. We've got the Nyx, Professor X, Mockingbird, and then Throg is just a good one for survivability. It's kind of a weakness of Quicksilver because he only comes in with 9 hit points. And then we've got just some upgrades. Endurance to help with the hit points as well. Quinn Carrier, just good resource generator. Can get that with build support. I'm trying out Symbiote Suit, not a card I'm generally a fan of, but Quicksilver is one of those heroes where you can make a case for it. I think the hit points are going to be really relevant this scenario. Taskmaster's got some ways to deal lots of chip damage to you, so we don't want to go to Alter Ego too much to recover either, because when we flip to hero form, Taskmaster hits us for some damage. And then obviously, just with the amount of times that Quicksilver is readying and activating, he makes good use of those buffs to the basic powers. Super power training, Quicksilver staple to help us get friction resistance as early as possible, and then a combat training to help buff the attack as well. Deft Focus, Quicksilver is one of the best heroes in the game to play Deft Focus. He's got 14 superpowers. So because of that, I'm actually playing 2. You can only have 1 in play, but I feel like we want to see that first one just as soon as possible because of how insanely valuable it is for Quicksilver. So not too much to say for how to play this deck if you're interested in taking it for a spin yourself. Just Friction Resistance is such a high priority card to get out. Same with Deft Focus. And then Yarnbjorn whenever you can fit it in, just to start that damage train rolling. One thing you could consider is some Spoiling for a Fight or maybe an Angela to help engage yourself with some minions. Spoiling for a Fight is interesting with Quicksilver because of the ready. I ultimately decided I didn't want to do that. Taskmaster especially has got some of those Hydra Patrol minions that would be pretty brutal if that was spawned as our minion. But that would give you some more consistency with the minion upgrades and trying to trigger a surprise move. And then if you hate Symbiote Suit, you could probably cut that as well. But that's what we've got for the deck. Let's take a look at Taskmaster. So let's have a look at the Taskmaster scenario. There's a few things that are pretty tricky about him, but a few things that make our job pretty easy as well. So right off the bat, he'll deal us an encounter card first turn of the game. So that's always like harder than it looks, right? When we're as least set up as possible. If we get a Shadow of the Past or an Under Fire there, or like a minion or two, like that can set us up pretty badly. So that's a bit risky. He's got a forced response after we change to hero form. We discard the top card of the encounter deck and take damage equal to the number of boost icons on that card. So this sort of punishes the pattern that we usually want to get it into of flipping between alter ego and hero form every turn. So we might just try to steal a turn here and there of staying in the same form. And then on the main scheme, after resolving step 1 of the villain phase, we either take 1 damage, each player in hero form must either place 1 threat here or take 1 damage. So, it's a small thing, but, that really adds up in a solo game where we've got pretty thin margins sometimes. So thankfully we do have a high main scheme threshold of 12. So we might be safe just putting threat on here for a while. Or if we've got blockers lined up, we can take damage. Like, we can always choose whatever is better for us. But, that's a substantial amount of trickle damage that'll hurt us over the course of the game. Especially if we consider just that first turn. If we've got to flip up, we've got to do this, we've got the extra encounter card. The first turn is kind of a big hurdle to overcome. But then, honestly, Taskmaster's got a lot of cards that aren't that bad. So Photographic Reflexes negates damage from an attack, deals it back to us. So we can usually make that like a 1 damage attack and not a big deal, or we can just ignore it for a while. He's got these weapons, a couple more in Weapon Master that are basically ignorable as long as we're stunning him or got allies to block the attacks. We've got this card Mimicry, which is kind of funny. We discard the top 5 cards of our deck, and then in Alter Ego, if we discard a thwart, he schemes. In Hero, if we discard an attack, he attacks. Quicksilver is kind of a unique hero. He's got no attacks or thwarts, and so I made sure to include no other attacks or thwarts in the deck. So this card will be pretty much a blank whenever we see that. Hunted by Hydra, this is a really weak card if we're in Alter Ego form. It just has Incite 1. But if we're in hero form, we have to take a damage and discard a card at random from hand. Still not the worst thing, but it's just a few different things that add up, which is can be inconvenient. A decent mix of minions, so I mentioned we're doing this minion upgrade strategy. And they're about average. I mean, Hydra Soldier is annoying. It's kind of a delayed surge, but these guys are pretty small. The other real significant part of this scenario is Captured by Hydra, and this is a really big help to us. So it's a 5 threat side scheme. When revealed, we place one of these set-aside allies under it, and when we defeat the scheme, we take that ally into our hand. And these allies are just ridiculous cards. They're 0-cost allies with 3 hit points, so that alone, and then thwarts or attacks of at least 2, so tremendous value there. They all have some additional ability. When they enter play, we can spend a resource to do something. So those will be excellent. We'll basically defeat these as quick as we can to get those into our hand and play them, and they basically buy back their value from having thwarted this, almost immediately in some cases. And especially once we get through them in our deck a second time, right now it's just the actual best card in our deck, after we reshuffle. So a mix of some challenges and some things that make it pretty easy. So could swing quite a lot here from turn to turn with how hard it is. Yeah, in terms of how we would game plan for Taskmaster, honestly, if you could stay in alter ego form as long as possible, that really would be the way to go. You avoid this, you avoid the flip damage, you avoid hunted by Hydra. But, right, I mean, that's not really sustainable because he's going to keep scheming, he's going to keep, he's going to keep scheming, and right, that'll lose us the game eventually, and we want access to our hero form abilities. So kind of the next best thing is just to stay in hero form, because the more we flip back and forth, the more damage we're going to have to suffer from Taskmaster's forced response. And even then, maybe there's a balance, because if we stay in hero form every turn, we're taking this every turn, we're taking the worst of every hunted by Hydra. So it's a tricky little scenario to weave through in that way. But as long as we've got, good blockers for Taskmaster's attacks, which can be buffed by these weapons, a way to deal like 1 damage at a time for the photographic reflexes, minimize attacks and thwarts, like there's a lot of ways that we can target Taskmaster. Include a few less allies, because we're going to get some extremely powerful allies here. Things like that. Got to watch out for Weapon Master here, so this is an extra activation card, and if the villain has a weapon attached, this gains Surge. So we're incentivized to discard these weapons, even though we sometimes just ignore them for their effect. They will surge our Weapon Master, so that can be reason enough to try to discard them from play. All right, so there we've got the scenario. Let's get into the game. So starting off, main scheme 1A tells us to set aside our captive allies and put the Hydra Patrol side scheme into play. So we've got that 2-threat crisis side scheme. When defeated, each player searches for a Hydra minion and puts it into play engaged with them. So it's good that we get to choose, so we can just get the 2 health Hydra regular almost certainly. So since the main scheme has a pretty high threshold, we're not in a rush to get the crisis out of there. Probably wait for a time when we're equipped to deal with the minion immediately as well before it can activate. All right, then Taskmaster's got a when revealed to deal ourselves an encounter card. So there's that. And then we'll shuffle our deck. There. So opening hand, I think Deft Focus is maybe priority number 1, maybe tied with Friction Resistance, or equivalently Superpower Training to help go find friction resistance. Serious case to be made for staying in alter ego form turn 1, just because we avoid the negative things that come up from going to hero form. It'll depend on how good of a start we get, whether I'll be able to thwart for a bunch in this next turn. Because even with an advance, Taskmaster might not flip the main scheme. So let's draw our hand. Okay. So, all right, candidates to keep are basically Quinn Carrier or Hyper Perception. Maximum Velocity is also just a pretty strong card. So Maximum Velocity would let us clear this, clear the minion, and defend for a little bit extra going into the villain phase, or so going in once we're in the villain phase. I probably want to just get a better, I want to just dig to that Deft Focus and Friction Resistance. I think I will keep Hyper Perception maybe. It is just buffing thwarting here is just really good thing to do. Yep, let's just keep that. Remembering we've got kind of an extra 2 cards to mulligan if we want. Okay, well, this got kind of insane because we got, honestly, too many good cards. I would have rather some of these be distributed throughout the deck a bit more. So we got friction resistance, obviously. This is kind of the must play. But then Mockingbird and Nick Fury are both cards I really like. So one route is to go Nick Fury, draw 3, play friction resistance. I could play friction resistance and hyper perception. I think I'm going to do Pietro's ability here. I really want to, well, let's see. Does finding a double resource even get me that much farther? It would let me play friction resistance and Mockingbird, which I think would be better than just playing one of these. So let's do Pietro's ability. I think these are the 2 least likely to play. We also might draw like a always be running, which gives them a use for the second resource from friction resistance. Okay, that didn't really change anything. So either friction resistance and hyper perception, or Nick and friction resistance. If I play Nick, I really will want to flip up, but then I've got a blocker ready. I think I like that route. So if I stay down, it's going to go up to 2, 4 plus a boost. Advance brings it to 6 plus 2 boosts. But if I've got hyper perception out, like that's just good thwarting potential. And unfortunately, we'll have lost both double times and 1 maximum velocity already, though. But Professor X is in there somewhere. It's also likely that what thwarting I do have, I'm really going to want to spend it on a captured by Hydra if we get one of those. All right, I'm going to go for the resource and build play. I'm going to go 3 for friction resistance and 2 for hyper perception. So I get an extra card in hand. I don't have to do the flip thing yet. I don't have to do this yet. I'm slightly safe from hunted by Hydra. I'm going to go with this. And maybe we'll immediately crash and burn, but it's a calculated risk. Okay, very weak hand, but we've got possibly a discard 2, draw 3 if I want to get Scarlet Witch into play. So 1 threat on the main scheme, Taskmaster schemes for 2, plus a boost of 0. And of course, we're pretty happy to see Advance go away. And then 2 more encounter cards for a total of 3. Okay, well, honestly, Caught Off Guard would have been atrocious if I'd gone the Nick route. But I guess I could have gotten it back with superpower training. But in any case, we'll discard Hyper Perception. I think a pretty clear choice. Weapon Master. The villain schemes. If they have a weapon, this gains Surge. So lucky we're hitting this before getting a weapon in play. So scheme for 2, plus the boost of 1. Main scheme is up to 7. And lastly, okay, there we go. There's a Hunted by Hydra. So we will put 1 threat on the main scheme due to Insight 1, and nothing else happens because we're not in hero form. Okay. So all things considered, not too bad. Got some thwarting to do, but 1 advance is out of the way. So yeah, I do think I will take advantage of the extra draw here because there's a lot of cards I don't care to play. So let's pay 3 for Scarlet Witch. She will help some on the thwarting as well. Use Pietro's ability. Okay, I guess Superpower Training is still a useful card. It's just not quite as efficient when it's not getting friction resistance. But okay, I'm discarding 2 cards and drawing 3 cards because Wanda Maximoff is in play. Ooh, okay, Maximum Velocity is very interesting. Let's flip. Resolve Taskmasters when forced response. After we flip, we discard a card from the top. It's got 1 boost icon, so we take 1 damage. So, I mean, one route is I could play no, it doesn't quite work. I could play Build Support, Maximum Velocity to clear it. That uses up all my resources from hand. Maximum Velocity, clear Hydra Patrol, ready Friction Resistance. Pay 1 for either of these, clear it. Or no, I guess that would be Build Support, get Quinn Carrier, pay 1 for either Endurance or Speed Cyclone. I kind of like the sound of that. I think that's just good setting up. More conservative route would be just like thwarting this, killing the minion. Really hope Scarlet Witch can pull a nice boost count. Okay, I'm gonna take a slight risk. I mean, the only risk is that literally advance might kill me, but that's 1 card in this whole deck. But things are gonna look really good. I could honestly maybe leave the minion alive and just thwart with Scarlet Witch. And would I rather play Speed Cyclone or Endurance? They're kind of the same. I bet the stun is probably worth more on average than Endurance. Or no, but I'm defending this turn, so we'll play Endurance. Okay, 2 for Maximum Velocity. We have +2 thwart, +2 attack, +2 defense. I guess I could try to have Scarlet Witch clear this. It's kind of a disaster if she doesn't, though. It's either a disaster or potentially a waste, so... Well, it's a waste with Quicksilver anyways. I'm going to thwart Hydra Patrol. So when defeated, search up a Hydra minion. Get Hydra Regular. This is a put into play, not a when revealed, so we don't do the Insight one. After using Quicksilver's basic power, we ready him. And then Friction Resistance readies after we ready Quicksilver. Let's pay 1 for build support. Quicksilver thwarts it for 3. Go get Quinn Carrier. Then spend 1 for Endurance, gaining 3 hit points. So I could either try to kill Hydra Regular, which, you know, we're pretty likely to do. We would need to whiff on boost icons. Or I can try to be safer on the main scheme. I've got to defend for 3. Say I take 1 damage, 2, 3, 4, I'll be at 7. I could take another attack. This will go up to 9. Advance still needs a boost of 1 or more to end the game. I think let's attack Hydra Regular. As an interrupt, we discard the top, and we get 0 boost icons. So it is indeed the worst case scenario, but it's not like it would have saved us that much from the main scheme either. And end the turn. Ooh, Symbiote Suit turn perhaps? Let's put 1 threat on the main scheme. As the forced response here, we'll take a damage, since we're doing better on health than main scheme right now. Taskmaster attacks, we will defend. 2 plus a boost of 0, then we'll ready. Hydra Regular attacks for 2. Yeah, kind of isn't... If I had a always be running in hand, I might just defend that, since my defense is still buffed. But I want to be able to use this ability in the player phase. So 2 encounter cards. There's our first Captured by Hydra. So let's get a random captive ally to tuck under it and see what we've got next. Taskmaster's Shield gives him Retaliate 1, which is not relevant in the short term. So as attractive as the Symbiote Suit is, I think Professor X is quite good right now. So I probably just need to play him. And I could actually play both. So 1, 2, 3 for Professor X, 1, 2, 3, 4 for Symbiote Suit. I could definitely play both. Am I in for a Symbiote Suit at this stage in the game? I think it's okay. It's certainly going to be more fun. Doesn't let me play Deft Focus. There is 1 more Deft Focus in the deck. Yep, I'm going to play Symbiote Suit. and then we'll play this thing for free. So let's pay 1, 2, 3 for Professor X, confuse Taskmaster, no, sorry, I guess I actually want to play Symbiote Suit first. Double 3, 4 for Symbiote Suit. So we'll get 10 hit points immediately. Oh, how did I miscount this? Okay, I think I overspent there somehow. 4 for Symbiote Suit. Thwart captured by Hydra for 2. Ready. Pay 3 for Professor X. Get the confuse. Thwart captured by Hydra for 3. So I guess I'm not giving myself an opportunity to do whatever extra ability I found here, but it's still just going to be a great high tempo play for 0. And honestly, this would be the least relevant one I'd want to do of damage at this point. So I kind of want to save her attack for bigger targets anyways. But someone needs to kill the Hydra regular. Gosh, I think it's Scarlet Witch actually. Well, Quicksilver thwarts for 2. Either Quicksilver thwarts for 2 or Scarlet Witch thwarts for 1 plus this number of boosts. I think I'd rather take the higher floor. So I'm going to have Quicksilver thwart for 2. Scarlet Witch will just attack Hydra regular. Don't even really think I need to use her interrupt. I guess it would give more information about the deck, but it also slows down going through it, so I don't know. That could be wrong. And then we'll just wait on Elektra. I don't really want to attack here while he's got Retaliate. Don't really want to thwart for 1. So let's end the turn. So 6 card hand size now with Symbiote Suit out. And a nice looking turn. So 1 threat on the main scheme. Let's take a damage for the effect there. Taskmaster attacks. Professor X has got a free block here. So block this attack for 4. And now we must reckon with the consequences of our Symbiote Suit and get 3 encounter cards. Okay, Hydra Soldier, Hydra Sidearm, and Weapon Master. This is going to be an attack. We've got a free defend here, so we'll defend for 2. Attack is coming in for 3 plus a boost of 1, so I'll take 2 damage. Weapon Master surges because Taskmaster has a weapon into Photographic Reflexes. And we ready after defending. Okay. So I'm going to play Nick Fury Sr. and probably drop 2 cards. It's either that or remove 3 threat from a scheme. This could be a flip down turn. Well, no, if I'm playing Nick, I want to use him to block. It's probably not a flip down turn. So let's pay 4 for Nick and draw 2 cards. So many readies. Oh, and Gatekeeper's extremely interesting. Oh, this is going to be fun. So let's put Gatekeeper on Hydra Soldier, plus 2 hit points and Patrol. When defeated, we remove 4 threat from the main scheme. So all right, so I want this attack to defeat Hydra Soldier. So let's attack with Electra first for 3. Then Quicksilver is going to attack for 2. We will surprise move. When you make a basic attack against an enemy with an upgrade attached, get plus 2 attack. If it defeats that enemy, ready your hero. So we will defeat it. When defeated, we dealt an encounter card. Gatekeeper removes 4 threat from the main scheme. And then we ready. When we ready friction resistance. Pay 1 here for deft focus. Okay, this is actually a good opportunity to pop photographic reflexes. Or I just thwart twice on the main scheme. Well, okay, thwarting more than... So, especially because Nick doesn't take retaliate. Yeah, so let's have Nick attack Taskmaster. Instead of taking 2 damage, we're going to deal that to Quicksilver and discard this. Nick takes the retaliate, but he's still alive on 1 health. And then we'll thwart for 2. Get our free ready friction resistance. Thwart for 2 again. So I am kind of intrigued by going to Alter Ego. Even though we waste Nick's block, lets me get a free recover. It's going to turn into an extra card with Scarlet Witch. We have no threat on the main scheme. Or we just stay because we're still pretty healthy. You know, we'd have to take this flip when we flip back. I think I'm gonna stay. Wish these were the right resources to discard one of these. Wish I hadn't used Quinn Carrier to pay for Nick. I think I still attack. I'll deft focus, always be running. Gonna take some retaliate, but I think that's okay. I'm gonna attack for 2. Take a retaliate. Let's always be running. Attack for 2 more. Take a retaliate. And end the turn. Okay, we go through the deck. This gives us another encounter card. This will be a nice 5 encounter card turn. Symbiote Suit definitely doesn't speed up your game necessarily. But the final push is pretty fast and furious once Yarnbjorn is set up. And Yarnbjorn doesn't trigger Retaliate, so might not even have to discard that shield this game. All right, 1 threat on the main scheme, and I'm going to add another threat just because, I mean, we're at 0. Taskmaster attacks. Nick Fury Sr. blocks. If you are in hero form, take 1 damage. Otherwise, place 1 threat on the main scheme. So we'll take 1 down to 10. And Nick dies. Okay, and 5 encounter cards. Hydra Soldier. Hunted by Hydra. So a whole bunch of stuff happens. Insight 1. Take 1 damage, down to 9. Discard a card at random from hand. Do 1 through 6, left to right. 2, Accelerated Reflex. Not that bad. As long as it's not Yarnbjorn, I'm not going to complain. Combat Knife, another +1 attack weapon. Gang Up is a bit annoying. Scarlet Witch is ready to block. I've also got my semi-free defend. I can just defend this attack though. Am I ready to scrap Scarlet Witch? I think so. Plus this attack is double buffed here, so. Scarlet Witch blocks. There's the other advance gone. Hydra Soldier attacks for 2. Will free defend for 2. It's Taskmaster's Training Camp. After a minion enters play, give it a tough status card. I'm glad we drew that after the Hydra Soldier. Okay. So we've got Throg with a minion in play, so good opportunity to play Throg. I think I want to play this Hyper Perception because it uses Deft Focus. I think it'll be worth it down the road. And I can Gatekeeper Hydra Soldier here too. Not the biggest Gatekeeper ever. I mean, there's 3 threat on the main scheme. I might discard some of this stuff. Okay, let's play Hyper Perception. Got 3 thwart for what it's worth. Thwart down Taskmaster's Training Camp. And readying Friction. So pay 1 for Yarnbjorn. Okay, I think I'm just not... Honestly, I might leave Hydra Soldier alive. It's only going to scheme for 1. So let's pay 2 for Throg. Get a tough. Let's put Gatekeeper on Hydra Soldier. Electra, attack him for 3. Keep Throg's tough. Flip down, recover for 4. And end the turn. Seven card hand. Looking to be a very good one at that. So 1 threat on the main scheme. Taskmaster is confused. Hydra Soldier schemes for 1. We're up to 5. And only 3 encounter cards this turn. Okay, another photographic reflexes. Shadow of the Past is not great. So a lot of stuff happens here right away. We've got Insight for a total of 3. When revealed, we must either take 2 indirect damage or exhaust their identity. So I'm going to take 2 indirect damage. And then we shuffle in, and these are pretty brutal. 2 Insight 1, discard 2 cards from hand, and exhaust your identity. Just absolutely atrocious. And then this one's not that bad. But... And this is coming in with 2 threat. And last card, captured by Hydra. So a lot of stuff, obviously, but I mean, we're set up to have a very strong turn. Let's tidy things up a bit. And let's get a captive ally. Okay. So I've got to defeat the crisis before I trigger Gatekeeper. Otherwise I won't be able to remove threat from the main scheme. Nick's interesting. He might draw me into a double, which would be very beneficial. But also I might just want to play that ally. I could just use up Electra though too. I mean, I do like a lot of this stuff in hand. Yeah, so many options. Maybe I'll just do a cycle 2 to try to get a double resource. Surprise move is very interesting. I mean, surprise move this is like the perfect situation for it. Because it's effectively 1 ER for 2 attack and a ready. So I should try to use that if I can. I think double time might be the worst. Or honestly just Nick, if I'm not going to play Nick. No, that can't be right. I should just, whatever 2 cards I'm going to discard, I should just spend those plus these 2 resources on board to play Nick. And then I could still cycle 2 cards if I want. So let's play 1, 2, combat training. Honestly, I kind of like the Gatekeeper. Maybe I discard Always Be Running. Double Time gives me threat removal here, which I like. But Nick... Okay. Combat training and double time. Discard 2. Or no, sorry. Those are my 2 other resources for Nick. And we'll draw 3. Okay, extra surprise move is kind of redundant. Yeah, the double does still get me a little bit more. So let's discard 2 and draw 2. There's a double, there's another double, which I guess I can use both. Okay, so we're ready to flip. Let's use a double for maximum velocity. So, oh gosh, I keep not updating my... So I actually have 5 thwart right now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's just clear this right away. We've got Moon Knight. Can spend a wild to draw 2 cards. Well, really wish I hadn't spent the Quinn Carrier, but given my information, I didn't want to spend the cards from hand. So let's have Nick thwart for 2 on Extortion of Seismic Proportion. That's kind of fun to say. Oh, and Quicksilver should have readied after thwarting down Captured by Hydra. Let's have Elektra attack and defeat Hydra Soldier. Gatekeeper removes 4 threat from the main scheme. We'll go Gatekeeper on Avalanche. Quicksilver attacks Avalanche. Spend friction resistance for surprise move. So now this is an attack for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that'll take him out. Remove 4 threat from the main scheme. When defeated, we ready, which readies friction resistance. Let's just play Moon Knight. Oh, sorry. And then in my response window, let's Yarn Bjorn 2 damage to Taskmaster. This is not even an attack, so this does not yet trigger photographic reflexes. Crap. I don't think I've gotten any new information. I flipped to hero form. Well, okay. I also forgot to just deal myself an encounter card here. But when I flipped, I should have discarded a card and taken damage equal to the boost icons. So there's one boost icon. And then when Hydra Soldier was defeated, I should have dealt myself an encounter card. Okay, so now let's play. I am kind of at a point where I would actually like to discard the shield now. I don't have any mental resources in hand. And Moon Knight could be that mental resource. Or we just full damage mode, got allies to block. Yeah, I think that's better. I don't know, because this damage is going to add up. There's a lot of little chip damage sources. I'm kind of attacking for a lot right now. All right, let's pay 2 for Reinforced Sinew. So I've got +1 attack. My attack is currently 5. Yeah, let's just play Moon Knight. I mean, Moon Knight represents health too, right? Because it's an ally that's going to block. Let's attack for... oh no, sorry. I need to attack for 2 first. Moon Knight's going to take a retaliate and trigger photographic reflexes. So I'll take 2 damage. Then Quicksilver is going to attack for 5. Take 1 retaliate. Deft Focus, always be running to ready. And I don't see a particular reason I can't get an extra encounter card this turn. So let's attack for 5 again. So we advance. When revealed, we get dealt an encounter card. I mean, yeah, good chance we just win next turn. Comes in on 17 health. Take a retaliate. And then I'll Yarn Bjorn for 2 more damage. Nope, not to me. And then I think Throg's kind of interesting here. I've got 2 blockers, and I've got a defend for 4, which I really don't want to use, but if I really had to. Okay, I think I attack with Throg. Gives me a good likelihood of winning next turn, or a better likelihood, enough better likelihood of winning next turn that I don't care about losing the value on the tough. So attack for 2, tough goes off on the retaliate, and then consequential damage. Puts a damage on him. Okay, end the turn. I guess those the Nemesis set cards that exhaust us are going to be pretty nasty, so hopefully I draw and always be running. That's basically what I need. There we go. And a maximum velocity. So yeah, crazy damage. Just need this to be a mild villain phase. 1 threat on the main scheme, we'll put another threat on. Taskmaster attacks, Nick blocks. Takes a lot of damage. And 3 encounter cards for a total of 5. And here we go. Captured by Hydra. Not that bad. Okay, Under Fire, pretty bad. Under Fire number 1, Need for Speed. Either exhaust and cannot ready until next turn ends, or flip and exhaust. I think it's got to be a flip and exhaust. Remove this from the game. Under Fire number 2. Okay, there's that Earthquake, so this is the Insight 1. Discard 2 cards from your hand and exhaust your identity. So we're already exhausted, but got to discard 2 cards from hand. So, done. And, okay, that was Under Fire number 2, because Need for Speed was number 1. Right, we did. That was our first card, this was our second card. 3 more, okay. Another Captured by Hydra. Attach to Avalanche if able. If you cannot attach to the villain, reduce the damage attached enemy takes from each attack by 1. I think we still win through that. And this does make it tricky now, because here's an Earthquake. I think I still have it, though. I've got to discard 2 cards. Discard Professor X and Mockingbird. Exhaust, Insight 1. Okay, so I think I've got it, though. Because I've got Maximum Velocity, 2 attacks for 5. That's 4 damage each. I can Yarnbjorn both of those for 10, 11, 12, and ready, always be running. Yeah, well, no, I need to ready just to get going. Okay, maybe it's not, but okay, well, I don't really have that many choices, so I'm just going to start going, and we'll see when we get there. So let's Friction Resistance for always be running. And then pay 2 for Maximum Velocity. So we are up to 5 attack. Oh, sorry, we flip, gotta discard a card, 0 boost icons. So 4 Yarnbjorn, ready. 4 Yarnbjorn. Oh yeah, that's 12, yep, okay, got it. So attack for 5 gets reduced by 1, so that's 4. Retaliate. Quinn Carrier to Yarnbjorn for 2. Free ready. Attack for 4 again. Yarnbjorn again for 2. And then let's add Moon Knight. Finish it off, attacking for 1. And I took another Retaliate in there, or 2, but... okay. Actually, I'm pretty close to the end. I only had 1 more damage. So, squeezed it through, although... Right, still not super close to losing if I had to survive another turn. And not gonna lie, kind of a perfect showing from the deck. I got to do basically everything that the deck wants to do. I had some great surprise move turns. I was really happy with that, especially with the symbiote suit out. When you just get more encounter cards, you're more likely to hit a minion that you can put those attachments on. So that kind of worked out in an interesting way. Yarnbjorn, great as a finishing card. I think good evidence for, or good validation of making those early decisions I made on turns 1 and 2 to get some extra resources, like staying in Alter Ego form the first turn, clearing capture by Hydra instead of getting safety on the main scheme, like just to get the most value. Like that really set me up to address the next few villain phases, so I could keep developing and just build momentum. And then in this late game, right, I just was firing on all cylinders with tons of friction resistance uses and buffed stats and resources, and So worked really well up to the end, with a little bit of excitement even between Shadow in the Past and Under Fire on our last 2 villain phases. So really sweet game. My disclaimer here: this was my second attempt. I did win my first game, but had a critical rules error, so I never really like to post those when I recognize them. But so a 2-0 with an asterisk in this matchup, maybe call it a 1-0 legit. And yeah, super awesome game. Thanks a lot for watching. Next up, we've got, I've already played against Zola, who would be next in the Rise of Red Skull order. So next I will be doing my matchup against Red Skull, the final scenario of this box, although I've got to go back and do some of my other matchups because we lost our last match using Hawkeye, and I had another critical rules error in my Black Widow game. So still got some time here to spend in the Rise of Red Skull. Hope to catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching again. See you.